Welcome back to Financial Wellness Planning. My name is Derek Coffey, and I'm the founder of FWP. And about a month ago, I put out a series going over when a 55-year-old couple could retire. In that series, we started with the couple that had nothing saved and worked our way through to the couple that had $1 million saved. On one of those videos, we had a comment about someone requesting us to run the scenario of being 50 years old with $1.5 million saved. What they were hoping to find out was when they could retire and maintain their current lifestyle of about $8,000 a month in living expenses and have an over 90% chance of not running out of money. Now, typically, I don't deal with people that have this level of wealth. My ideal client is going to have less than $500,000 and be eligible for a pension of some sort. But I do know there is a subset of the population that is in that exact scenario, so I figured, why not? In this video, we're going to get into when this couple can retire, and we're going to go over the things that they need to be considering as the end of their career approaches. Stay tuned. Before we go any further with this video, I do want you to keep in mind that the two options that we go over are not the end-all be-all of what's available to this couple. With this level of wealth and the number of moving pieces that they have with their financial situation, they need to ensure that they're sitting down with an accountant, a financial advisor, and even a lawyer to make sure that everything is set up to be the best for them. Now, before we start building the plan, we have to get into what their current situation is. What we have is we have a husband and a wife. The husband is 50 years old, the wife is 48 years old. The husband brings in $138,000 a year. He contributes 13% into his 401k. The wife brings in $97,000 a year, and she contributes 10% to her 401k. They currently live on about $8,000 a month, and this includes a mortgage payment that they're making. On that loan, they have $130,000 left, but they're only paying 2.75%. Now, just because they have such a low interest rate, it doesn't mean that that can't become a focal point of their financial plan. Before both of them retire, they need to make sure that that mortgage is gone. And it's also a goal of theirs is to have that house paid off because they anticipate using the money that they're spending on the mortgage to go and travel the world. Fast forward to retirement, and the husband is eligible for $3,500 a month in Social Security at his full retirement age. For the wife, it's $2,500 a month at her full retirement age. For their investments, the husband has $1 million saved in his 401k. The wife has $500,000 saved in hers. They have $50,000 at the bank that's just there for emergencies, in addition to a $200,000 taxable account that they put money into. They have a $63,000 Roth IRA that they're no longer contributing to because they make too much money. But when you add all of this up and take away the mortgage that they have, they're just shy of $1.7 million in net worth. So all in all, financially, they're doing very well. So the first option we're going to go over is them working for 7 more years. So the husband's going to retire at age 57, the wife is going to retire at age 55. And yes, they could retire both at age 55, but the problem is they're in the highest earning years of their career. With all of the money that they have, them working for the next 7 years is going to set them up for one of the easiest retirements that I have seen personally. But if we set their retirement ages to 57 and 55, they have a 90% chance of not running out of money over the course of their retirement, and we are planning for them to live until age 90. We're going to hold that $8,000 a month of monthly expenses steady. We're going to assume that their 401k distributions are 4% apiece. We're going to hold their savings steady, at least in its current state. The husband's still putting the 13% away, the wife's still putting the 10% away into her 401k. For their Social Security, we're going to pull that as soon as we possibly can. And the point of this is to take some of the stress off of their investment accounts to produce their income. No, they don't necessarily need the money, but they do have a plan to use it if they start receiving it. And because of the amount of money that they have saved, I don't have an issue with them pulling it early because later in life, if one of them passes away, there's still going to be plenty of money left over for the other one to continue living. So with them retiring at 57 and 55, they have that 90% chance of not running out of money. Now, this is good. When I build retirement plans for people, I'm looking to hit this 90% number. But because they're retiring this early in their life, I want this number to go a little bit higher. And there are some things that we can do to make this number better. And the first one is going to be to save more. And they're very much willing to save more. The only reason they're not funding the Roth IRA is because they make too much money. So instead of putting more money into their pre tax accounts and creating a larger tax bill in their retirement, I would want them to focus on that taxable account that they have $200,000 in. The reason that this account is going to be so important in this plan is because they're going to use that to live on until they're able to access their 401k money without any penalties. Now, you can access your pre-tax money before age 59 and a half, but there is a lot of paperwork and headache that goes into that, and we're going to go over that in option number 2. But to keep their retirement plan as simple as we can, we're going to try to get them to the point that they don't have to touch that money until they're eligible to. So in 2031, when the husband turns 57 and the wife turns 55 and they both retire, they're going to have a significant income gap of about $131,000. In year 2, that goes up to 135. In year 3, it's 139. Year 4 goes down to 51,000 because the husband now has access to his 401k money. Year 5, it's 59,179. And then in 2036, the husband will be eligible for Social Security, and then the wife will be eligible to access her retirement funds. So they're going to have about a $2,000 a month surplus. But from the age of 57 to the husband turning 62, they're going to have just over a $500,000 income shortfall that we want to fill. And that taxable account is where we're going to pull it from. And the reason this is because the money they pull from that account isn't going to affect their tax bill, at least not very much. There may be some taxable events that occur and they may have some level of a tax bill. But for all intents and purposes, the tax consequences of that account are only going to be so much. Now, the way we're going to go about filling this is to save more money. And as I mentioned earlier, they're fine with saving more money. It's just they want to know where to save it. If they were to add $1,500 a month or $18,000 a year from now until the time they retire, 7 years from now, we can fill that income gap. And it also raises their probability of success to 94%. So the reason that I would stress this option specifically to this couple is twofold. Number one is their goal in retirement is to travel as much as they possibly can. They want to see the world. So we're not talking about little trips around the US. We're talking about other continents. So over the next 7 years, they're going to make a significant amount of money. What I would prefer that they do is to take the bigger trips while they're still working. If they wanted to take 2 weeks to Europe, 2 weeks to Australia, 2 weeks to Asia, it doesn't matter. While they're gone, they're going to get paid because they're using paid time off. When they come home, they're going to go right back to work and keep receiving those same paychecks that they're accustomed to. So by taking these trips while they're still working and earning a significant amount of money, it maximizes the enjoyment that they're going to get from that travel. And then once they retire, they can take those smaller trips. They can travel around North America. They can travel around South America because they're a little bit more cost effective than flying over the oceans. So that's why I would prefer that they keep working for the next 7 years. That way they can take those big trips that they really want to take and do it guilt-free because their retirement plan's still on track. Now, the second reason that I would prefer that they take this route is due to taxes. Because of the amount of money that they have saved in their pre-tax accounts, they're going to run into a tax issue in retirement. And this is going to be especially true if one of them passes away before the other. So to help alleviate some of that tax bill, we can do what are known as Roth conversions. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because Roth conversions really weren't on my content radar for another few months. But since it's been brought up and it really fits their plan, we're going to touch on it for them. So assuming that they use the distribution proposal that I put together, which is just 3 years of Roth conversions, it does increase their chances of success to 95%. But the way a Roth conversion works is you take money from your pre-tax accounts and convert it into a Roth. Now, when that conversion happens, you do have to pay taxes at whatever your income tax rate is. But because they have so much money set aside in that taxable account, then it's going to let them take full advantage of the tax code to do these conversions. So we go to their tax tabs and we go to the distributions. we can see this plan modeled out. And what we're aiming to do is to fill the 12% tax bracket. Now, the reason that you see 12 or 15% is because the Trump tax cuts expire at the end of next year. If they don't do anything to extend those cuts, then the 12% bracket goes back up to 15%. But either way, modeling this out, they can convert a significant amount of money. At age 57, they could convert almost $112,000. Age 58, it's $115,000. And then at age 59, they convert $117,456. So the grand total of pre-tax money that could get converted into a Roth is $385,000. Now, this does cause issues with their cash flow because before they didn't have a tax bill to worry about. If you're converting money, then you're going to have a tax bill that you need to worry about. So if we go back to their cash flows, they still have the $131,258 of expenses that they're going to have to cover, but they're going to add $24,000 of income taxes. Now, they live in a state where they don't have to pay state income taxes, so that's not a concern. But by paying the $24,000 in taxes now, they don't have to worry about paying them later. But it does affect their cash flow. So their net cash flow year one of retirement is negative $155,000. In year two, it's $163,242, and then in year three, it's $166,359. If we add all of those up, it's about a $485,000 income gap that needs to be filled. If they're saving the $1,500 a month, we already know that it's going to get them up to just over $500,000. They can do these conversions with no issue. If we go to year four of their retirement, they're still going to be down $61,251. They're still going to have a little bit of money left in the taxable account. We still have the Roth account that they haven't been able to contribute to that we could pull money from. There's just so many options with this plan that we would be foolish to not talk about a potential Roth conversion. Now, I ran all of the numbers, and based on them both living to age 90, so that includes 2 years of the wife filing as a single filer, the Roth conversions now is going to save them a little over $500,000 in taxes throughout their retirement. So working until age 57 is what's going to give them the most flexibility. It's going to allow them to enjoy the trips that they want to take now, regardless of how expensive they are. It's going to allow them to convert some of that money and save on taxes in retirement. It's going to allow them to be as comfortable as they possibly can be, especially with this level of wealth. But now we're going to move on to option number 2, and that's them both retiring at age 55. So if we move their retirement ages to 55, then their chances of success go down to 89%. Now, again, we want it at 90. We want it above 90, especially with them retiring so young, but it is still a very high probability of not running out of money. To make this plan work, though, they are going to need access to their retirement funds before age 59 and a half. And there is a way that you can go about doing this. It's called a 72T withdrawal. 72T is an IRS code that gives you access to your funds before age 59 and a half, as long as you make substantially equal periodic payments. There are 3 different ways to go about calculating your distribution. You have to pick which one is best for you. But the thing about 72T withdrawals that you need to be aware of is that you cannot change them once they start. Once you start taking 72T withdrawals, they stay in place until 5 years from now or when you hit 59 and a half, whichever happens sooner. So with 72T withdrawals, make sure that the amount of money that you're receiving is going to be enough to get you through until you're 59 and a half. Because there's nothing you can do with those payments. You can't increase them, you can't decrease them. If you're taking too much, there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck with that distribution. If you decide to make a change, then it's going to wipe out the penalty-free withdrawal that you're receiving. So on top of the income taxes that you're going to pay, you're going to owe that 10% penalty as well. But if we assume that they do the 72T, they retire at 55, they're pulling their money, they have an 89% chance of not running out of money. We go to their cash flows, nothing changes. They're still making the $235 they're making currently. They still have the $5,000 a month, which we're going to take a little bit off of that to make that number go up. but they're still making $5,000 a month to take those big trips. Everything works well. So if we go back to the analysis page, we're still going to fund that taxable account $1,500 a month or $18,000 a year. We're up to 91%, right? We're over the 90% threshold. I'm getting happier. If we go look at their cash flows, even if they start taking the money when the husband turns 55, he starts his withdrawals, his wife is still working, they're going to have extra money left over. Now, once the wife retires, that's when we start running into a cash flow issue. In year one of her retirement, they're negative $32,285. In year two, it's $34,114, $37,016, almost $38,000, $38,360. And this happens all the way up until they both are receiving Social Security. Now, when you add up all of those income gaps, it comes out to about $185,000, which they already have $200,000 in their taxable accounts. So they have enough money sitting aside that's not going to affect their tax bill, and they can fill those income gaps. But what I'm worried about is that they're not going to be able to travel the same way that they used to. Well, that's where that $18,000 a year comes in. Over the next 5 years, if they save that $18,000 a year, they're going to build up a $90,000 travel fund that they can use however they wish. So they can retire early, they can still travel the way that they want to, and they don't have to worry about running out of money in their retirement. Now, I don't want them to forget about their mortgage. They still need to pay that additional $500 or so a month to get rid of that over the next 7 years. But if they pay off that mortgage, they save the $18,000 a year from now until they retire, them retiring at 55 is very much within reason. Just like I've said in all of the videos in the When Can You Retire series, saving for your financial future as soon as you possibly can is what creates these types of opportunities. Because this couple dedicated themselves to saving money, they've built up quite the nest egg. They've built up a situation to where they can retire within the next 5 years if they want to. Because they understood how investment accounts work, they also invested in a way that's tax diversified. Because they've built up a substantial amount of money in that taxable account, it's what creates the opportunity for them to do the Roth conversions and save themselves $500,000 in taxes in retirement. But understanding how money works is how you end up in a situation like this. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If this video or any of the other videos has provided you value, then hit that subscribe button. I also want to thank the couple that allowed me to do this for them. I appreciate it greatly. It was a lot of fun. But I thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.